Hello, hello, hello. I'm dancing to the music. I am also, my clock just rang 12. So here we are. Welcome to my weekly Wednesday chat. I am Anne LaFollette, and I am excited to be here as always on Wednesday for my weekly Wednesday chat about art, creativity, and surface design. Let me make sure that I've got my comment window open so I can say hello to Jeanette. Hello, hello, hello. It's great to see you. And Pauline Riley is here. Hello, Susan. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Carol. Hello, Carol. I have not talked to you in a while. How are you doing? And Renee is here, and Dell is here. Oh my gosh, so many of you are joining me live, which is fantastic. Hello, Kathy. So I'm hoping that a couple of things are helping you come join me live. One is I'm sending a reminder. So tell me in the comments, is the email reminder that you get on Wednesday morning helpful? I also let you know what I'm going to be talking about, so you can kind of decide whether or not, yeah, I want to be there today, or no, I don't need to be there today. Let me just make sure that I've also got my, I know that I'm doing this super cool thing. Okay, first of all, I'm going to take a deep breath because I can tell that I'm already talking too fast. So when I get super excited, I start talking way too fast. Hello, Debbie. It's great to see you here again, because I just was having a Q&A with my Academy students. Hello, Elizabeth. And Sherry says yes to the reminder. Terrific. Hello, Donna. It's great to see you as well. So when I'm super excited, I start to talk way too fast. And so one of the things that I wanted to, that I always like to make sure I'm doing is I'm just checking in with the various places where I am broadcasting. Because as you can actually see here, this means that Lana is joining me from my YouTube channel. So do you see the teeny little red circle? It's the little red icon for YouTube. So Lana, thank you so much for joining me from there. And you guys are all saying that yes, you are you find the reminders helpful. So that is great. So I can actually see your names when you're joining me from my Facebook business page. I can also see you when you are coming in from YouTube. And I wanted to make sure that Dell knows that I can see you as well, Dell, because you are live with me also. So here's what we're going to do today. So Dusty also said thanks for the reminder. Fantastic. Love it. Yes, media gymnastics. Media gymnastics. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're actually going to talk about Stu McLaren and memberships. So the first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a picture of me and Stu. So tell me if you can see this on screen now. Just double check for me to make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing. So I have known Stu McLaren now for 5 years, right? I've known him for 5 years. And this picture of me and Stu on the right-hand side was actually when I met him for the very first time in person. And I obviously didn't have white hair back then because this was pre-pandemic, and this is my post-pandemic picture with him when my hair is all white. But this is not about me and my hair. This is actually about Stu McLaren and how long I have known him, and why I highly recommend that you follow along for the next 10 days in his free program, right? So he is a goofball. Listen, and the reason that he's a goofball is because he's actually an incredible introvert. So let me come back on screen. Let me come back on screen. So the reason he always does a funny face in the pictures is because he actually is a real introvert. So if you know him, and many of you have been actually following him also for years, because he does this thing once a year where he has this incredible free workshop where he teaches you pretty much everything you need to know about how to create your own membership. And he has thousands of examples, not thousands, he has hundreds of student examples of success stories. And so I actually met him originally back in 2018. And here's the funny story about that. So I love to learn new things. And back in 2018, I had recently lost my corporate job. So for those of you who don't know me as well as others, I had a corporate career for 30 years in retail. I worked for companies like Esprit, which was really, really big in the 80s. It was a big corporate retailer in the 80s. And then in the 90s, I worked for the Gap. And then in the 2000s, I worked for Old Navy. And actually, I was still with Old Navy. I was with them for like 15 years. I got laid off. My boss called me into his office, totally out of the blue. I was actually having a spectacular performance year. The division I was running was having a spectacular year. But anyway, he eliminated my job. So I needed to reinvent myself because I was in my late 50s. And so I decided I wanted to learn something totally new. I wanted to learn about how to have my own business because I wanted to be my own boss. And I am my own boss now. I love my creative business, and one of the cornerstones of my online business is a membership. And my very first membership, I actually started in 2018, at the tail end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And it was my very first foray into the membership world, and having this recurring income stream coming into my business as a beautiful kind of foundational element to my creative business. And of course, I learned how to do that from Stu because I purchased Stu's signature program, which used to be called Tribe. It's now called the membership experience because it's so important for you to understand it's all about memberships. And Stu has been teaching about memberships since 2008. So he is really the guy. He's the guy to learn from. So the first thing I wanted to make sure that you guys knew is I did not just meet him recently. I've known him for years, and he is still to this day an incredible mentor of mine. So the second picture you saw there when I had my beautiful white hair is actually I'm in his mastermind. I'm in his mastermind, and we generally meet virtually now, sort of. During the pandemic, we couldn't meet in person. We used to meet 3 times a year in person, but we're meeting virtually. But once a year, we do get together in person. And so that picture was this picture of me over here on the left. I guess I do want to update my audio system, but I don't want to update my audio system while I'm live with you. In any event, the picture on the left-hand side is from a meeting that we had in Nashville back in October of last year. And, he always makes a funny face. So the next thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure, have you downloaded his free workbook? So he's got this amazing guide. The ultimate step-by-step guide to start, launch, and grow a successful membership. So I want to make sure that you've downloaded this because it's an incredible guide. Look, I'm going to flip through it for a couple just so you can see. I know this is really tiny, so it's hard to see, but he basically talks about, is the membership site right for you, how to choose one that's going to work for you, how to start a paid membership even if you don't have an audience, then 3 simple rules for naming your membership site. I have to say I didn't follow those very well. So one of the key rules in naming your membership is to keep it really easy, both to remember and to spell. And for those of you who are in my membership, it's called Anne's Atelier. And the word atelier is not even English, it's French, and nobody knows how to spell it. So I kind of broke that rule, but I'm going to continue to go with it anyway. Then he basically talks about how to be known as an expert, right, and build trust, how to grow an audience, right, if you don't have one. Then it says, how do you price your membership? And then he talks about content strategies, because obviously if you have a membership, you have to be providing content to your audience. And then he talks about also how to run it to make sure that it's not going to run you. How do you run it and have it not run you? And then he also talks about, how you can grow it successfully. So I wanted to also make sure that if I go to, if I share my screen and I go into the Facebook group, we're here live, I want to make sure that you have here is the link to Stu's free workbook. And because I want to make sure that you guys here, I'm going to come back on screen to go grab the link to the guide, because I want to make sure that step number 1 of today's training is to make sure that you actually have it. And let me come back on screen. Let me share my screen, go back into the Facebook group, and then you can see that here, I put it right here. Here's your downloadable, the link to download it, right? There's the link to download it. So good point, Janet. Janet says, yes, I think anyone in the art world knows the word atelier, because atelier, of course, means creative studio in French. However, a lot of people don't know how to spell it. A lot of people don't know how to pronounce it. It's not the most obvious choice for a name. But if you haven't downloaded his guide, this is my link to his guide. Okay, so I'm going to come back on screen. So that's the guide. So you got to check out the guide. And even though it might feel a little intimidating because it's 83 pages, let me just go show you at a glance that he, their cover images, he writes in a pretty big font. And so it's and then he also embeds in it some really cool testimonial stories and success stories of students. And what's great when you go through it is you should go through it and identify like all of the creative memberships that have been created. And that's actually what I'm going to talk about next week. I'm going to talk about examples of creative memberships that are very, very successful and easy to get started and easy to run. But this is basically his fabulous book. So I'll go back to the cover page just so you guys can see what it looks like when you download it. And then you now have the link to go grab it, right? How to start, launch, and grow a successful membership site. And there are lots of examples in there of creative memberships, which is, of course, what we are all interested in doing. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is starting tomorrow. He has his once a year, it's only offered once a year, workshop. So I want to tell you about the workshop and why you should absolutely attend it. First of all, you should attend it because it's incredible. It's free, and he is going to go into a lot more detail about how you can identify the right niche for your own creative membership. He talks about more than just creative memberships, but I want you to go through it and listen to it with the lens, putting on the lens of how does this apply for me in a creative situation and with a creative membership. And you're going to see over the next 10 days that people will start their memberships while they're in the workshop, right? So he teaches you what you need to know so that you could actually start a membership in the next 10 days. And you're going to see some examples of that, some live examples of people who maybe have been thinking about this since last year, who knows, but they are actually action takers, and they're going to implement a membership while he's actually live teaching. So the sessions are live, but all the recordings are available for during the workshop itself. They're not available forever, but they're available during the workshop itself. And the workshop runs from the 20th to the 30th. So you can join, and there are just 3 sessions. They're spread out really, really nicely. So what I wanted to do next is let me make sure you know where to go to sign up for it. And then I also want to show you so here is the link to sign up for his free workshop, which starts on tomorrow, which is April 20. And so let me also share my screen. Go back into the Facebook group. So if you're here on Facebook with me, I've just put it here in the chat. Now, I'm actually going to go to that URL so that we can actually walk through what the workshop's about and why I want you to save your seat. I want you to save your seat. So click my affiliate link, because I'd love to be able to continue to track that you're going through it with me, because next week I'm going to talk about specific creative membership ideas that can get your juices flowing so that you can actually start to think about how you might implement one yourself, because adding this into your existing business or starting your business with a membership is a really, really great way to start to bring revenue into your creative business. So it's a free live series. It's all about turning what you already know, love, and do into a profitable membership business. And it only happens once a year. This is the most important thing. It only happens once a year. So this is for people who are in the creative space. It's also for entrepreneurs generally. And one of the things that is incredibly important about memberships is it brings stability and less stress into your business and into your life. So here he is talking. This is actually not a video. It's just a little GIF. So here are the 4 key things you want to know. So Kathy Gale, let me go back here. And I'm going to put, let's see, so Kathy Gale, here is the link to his workbook. And the link to his workbook, hold on one second. The workbook or the guide is right there. So I just love the technology that we have today because look, I was able to basically send you a message right now, Kathy Gale, with the link to his workbook. Here is the link to his workbook. So I was basically over here because I wanted to talk about, this is his workshop, right? This is the 10-day workshop, but it takes place basically over 3 days. Over the course of 10 days, he goes live 3 times. It's a better way for me to say that. So he's going to talk about this powerful process that will quickly help you determine if your membership idea is going to work. So this is the most important thing, right? Is to have, okay, what are the questions I need to be asking? What are actually the different parameters I should be thinking about so that I know my membership's going to work or not. And then if you discover that it might not work that well, you'll find out how to improve it so that it will work. Then he's going to also talk about some of the most important and surprising reasons why people buy and what also keeps them in your membership, right? And because one of the things that's super important to understand is not overwhelming your memberships with too much content. Then he's also going to talk about the simple but most important piece of every successful membership. And I can tell you this puzzle piece is really critical. And then he's also going to talk about how he breaks down the tech so that you do not get overwhelmed by the technical parts of setting up a membership. So this is the membership blueprint, right? So this is basically another download he's going to be providing to you. So during the workshop, he's handing over his proven step-by-step blueprint. And so this is a different guide than the one I've given you a link to today. And so in order to get it, you have to come to the workshop itself. So you can read a whole bunch of additional comments from people who've taken it in the past or signed up for it right now. And here's just a little bit more information about Stu. So as I mentioned, he's been working in the membership space since 2008. And he's worked with thousands of people. And one of the things that is most important is he's not just working with big people. He's not just working with big names like the Michael Hyatts of the world. So you know, if you're in my creative community, that I use this beautiful planner every day to support my journaling and also to support my kind of to-do list, and it's from Michael Hyatt. And that is a membership, right? I subscribe to get that planner book. So that's a physical product membership, essentially, because I get it once a quarter. It gets shipped to me. I just recently got my most recent shipment of the Michael Hyatt Full Focus Planner. It's a fantastic planner. But that's an example of a membership, right? That's a membership or a subscription. And so Sherry, when I say membership, are you talking about stuff like a Patreon site? So I'm not talking about things just like a Patreon site. So a Patreon site is an example of a membership, right? So how many of you guys follow, let's see, so give me the name of somebody who you follow who has a Patreon site. So Sherry, tell me who comes to mind when you think of somebody who you give them maybe $1 a month or $2 a month to get some special goodies from them through Patreon. Jenna Rainey. Jenna Rainey's a great example. So the thing about having a Patreon site is Patreon takes part of that money. So when you develop your own membership and you sell your membership either through your own website or just directly, for example, I could sell a membership directly right now on this Facebook page. No one's going to take a cut of the money. So it's fine having something like what Jenna has. It's great. Jenna's very, very successful, and also sells courses, and she teaches online. She does all kinds of beautiful, beautiful things. But Patreon is going to take a cut of whatever you donate to her to support her. So it's not as good as, and Shada Campbell's another great idea, is another great person who does it. But Shada Campbell is going to make more money if you actually buy her watercolor course than if you are a member of Patreon, because Patreon takes part of the money that you give her. It makes a lot more sense it makes you listen, all of these are great ideas, right? And you have to pick the one that's best for you. But setting up a Patreon site means that you actually are giving part of the money to Patreon, as opposed to creating an Anne's Atelier membership, which is my membership, and no one takes a cut of that of the proceeds that I get when you join my membership. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more about why this workshop is so fabulous. And what I was telling you guys is that the idea really is to make sure that you think about something that you already know how to do. You absolutely love it, so you would do it for free even if you didn't end up doing it paid, but you can turn it into a profitable membership. And that's what he's going to teach about it. So my next Doodles, Cat, is, so glad you asked that as well. Let me go grab the link so that you guys can grab the link for my next Doodles coaching week. What am I looking for? So many links. So hold on a second. I am going to grab the link for you to the, so Doodles, to answer your question, Doodles, my next Doodles starts on the 17th of May. So let me grab the link for that in case anybody wants to sign up for it. It's my fantastic Doodles coaching week. Only costs $10 to participate in it. And let me grab that for you. And I'm copying the URL. I want to make sure I put it in here for you. I'm gonna tag you. Here is the link to my next Doodles coaching week, which starts on May 17. And so you can just send her, that link. So thank you. I'm so glad you have a friend who wants to do it. So let me come back into the Facebook group. So Kat Taylor, I just tagged you. So here's the link. It's members.artwithanne.com/doodles-FB for Facebook. Right? And it is on, and so if I actually go to that, in case you guys all want to know what's going on, so enrollment starts on May 17th. There's a cute little video that tells you all about it. And then you scroll down and just make sure that you give this to your friends. It's members.artwithanne.com/doodles-FB for Facebook. And then your friend can read all about it. She can see the whole schedule. The whole schedule basically starts, it only costs $10. And it starts on the 17th of May. All right? Fantastic. So who has some questions about, I'm going to stay focused on Stu for one more minute, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So the most important thing about Stu, if you've never met him before, is go get his guide, right? So let me come back to show my scenes window. And so super awesome to download this free membership guide, right? This totally awesome free membership guide. And then if you want to actually start participating in his workshop, the dates are the 20th, which is tomorrow, the 24th, which is, let's see, let me look at my calendar. And of course, all these details are actually on his page, but tomorrow, the 20th, is workshop number 1. And of course, you'll get the replay even if you can't go live. Then the 24th is Monday, when he has the next lesson. And then the 27th, which is a week from tomorrow, is the third lesson. And then he also has a very, very special webinar that's going to be on Sunday the 30th that kind of wraps everything up. All right? So next week, what I'm going to do with you is I'm going to talk specifically about 3 creative memberships that have been created inside my own community, right? They were started by people like Pauline Riley, who is in Anne's Atelier. And so it's a great opportunity for you to come back next week at noon. I'll be live like I always am on Wednesdays for a conversation about art, creativity, and we frequently talk specifically about surface design, but this week and next week we're going to talk about memberships because Stu only does this once a year and you don't want to miss it. But next week I'm going to share 3 examples from inside my community. One of them is Pauline Riley because she actually has a membership that's all about the Procreate app. I'm going to also share about Natasha Zahn, who has a greeting card membership. And we're going to talk about Marianne Walker-LeClaire, because Marianne Walker-LeClaire used to do in-person paint parties. She then had a beautiful Favorite Things subscription box. And there's a lot of examples of people who have memberships that are subscription boxes that you fill with your favorite things. But they're also paint party subscriptions and memberships. So I look forward to talking to you next week. And so this is a great question. So let me just see who's got questions about how this. I'm just going to see if I can figure out what your name is. So let's see. You're a Facebook user, and I don't know if you're coming to me from, tell me what your name is. And then I think that this is a great question that Stu's going to be addressing in his workshop. And I will also talk about it again next week. So, because it can be confusing. It can be confusing. What's the right relationship between giving things away for free and also then asking people to actually join one of your a membership that you might be offering? And there's definitely a balance, and Stu addresses that in his workshop. So you should participate. Remember, if you can't go attend live, you can get the replay. All right. I think that is me, Carol. So good. So Carol, you and I can also talk offline about why it's confusing so that we can dive into that in more detail. I never like to keep you guys more than about 20 minutes, and it's already been 27. And so Carol, I look forward to talking to you about it further. Don't forget to join me again next week so we can dive into creative membership examples to get your creative juices flowing to see whether or not you have a creative membership that you can offer to your community. All right? I always love to say in closing that I am Anne LaFollette. I am Anne LaFollette, and it's never too late to create. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week.